Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard. My name is Joel Sked, and on this occasion, I am joined by my colleague James Kearney. How's it going, James?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm very well. How are you getting on?
Good. Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. We are here to discuss. I'm trying to do three things at once here. We are here to discuss hand out
Mm,
imaginary awards for the season so far. So we're, of course, at the halfway point in the season. Well, halfway, just further than the halfway point in the league.
mm.
But just it makes it easier to say the halfway point of the season because it's the winter break and it's just a natural kind of stopping point, and it gives us the opportunity to do shows like this where we hand out awards for the first half of the season. So we've got a lot of awards here, most of them good, some of them not so good. But we'll it'll be probably quite quick fire. So a lot of the things that we kind of spoke about or covered when Liam was on the show. We looked back at the first half of the season. This will be similar, but going into other areas as well. We will have a video later on in the week about the Q&A, some of the questions that have been sent in on social media between myself and Scott, and James and I will probably answer some questions as well for a written piece that will likely go out on Friday or over the weekend. So be sure to check out this. But on this occasion, we're here to chat about the awards that we're about to hand out. So the first one will be, I've made the list, just need to find it. I've of course closed it down. So what is
Well, I had it as the best player apart from Lawrence Shankland.
Yes, that is exactly where we'll start. Best player not named Lawrence Shankland. Because, I mean, if we just did best player, then it's obvious who that would be. So best player not named Lawrence Shankland. Who have you got, James?
So I had two in mind, but I've been trying not to repeat myself throughout these awards.
There's one where I've had to repeat myself.
Right. Okay.
Well, and this is the answer. One of these is the answers.
Yeah. So I think I know exactly who you're going to go for. So I had him in mind as well. But I did. So I won't go for him then. I'll go for Alex Cochrane. I think he's had an excellent season so far. I think he just continues to go from strength to strength. He's done it in a lot of the big games. He's becoming more and more consistent as the season goes on, to the point now where I think he's in the conversation for being the best left back in the league at present. You know, I think you look at Celtic and Rangers at the moment, that's a kind of problem position for them both. And looking at elsewhere around the division, I'm not convinced there's many better at the moment, or there's not be many better this season. So yeah, I'll go for Alex Cochrane then.
Okay, that's a surprise. I thought Cochrane. I think he's been really good. He's been consistent. He's been solid. That's my view.
I guess you far in my book, you know.
Yeah.
I like consistent players.
That's fair. No, he's definitely. I think you look at it. When I was looking at the list of players and thinking who's the best out of Shankland, I think there was only other one kind of obvious answer for me. But there was also a lot of players who they have done really well and improved on last season, when I think a lot of the teams, certainly in the second half of the season, maybe stagnated or regressed. There's plenty of players who have kind of kicked on, but without just being just kind of blowing me away with their performances. So Cochrane fits into that. I, however, gone for Frankie Kent, who has been,
say that.
Yeah. He's been excellent, and I'm sure we'll cover him. I think in another award very, very shortly. So I won't speak too much about him because we can both speak about him very shortly. So yeah, Frankie Kent. In brief, I just think he has been the player that Hearts have needed. Hearts missed last season, or the second half of last season, without Craig Halkett. In fact, missed the entire last season just because of Craig Halkett's injury issues. So he was in and out the team due to a variety of injury issues. And we look at Kent and how important he has been to that defence. He's just come up from down south and being that reliable presence who puts his head on the ball and just kind of no-nonsense centre back who can play a wee bit as well. He's competent on the ball without being like a libero who you don't want to have on the ball. So moving to most improved player, who have you got, James?
So this one, I feel a bit, I wasn't sure about this one just because I think this player, I think the first half of last season he was excellent, and then the second half of last season was not so excellent. But I think he's really kicked on, particularly over the last kind of 2 months or so. It's Kai Rose. I think we all know that going into the World Cup in Qatar. He was in excellent form. He played really well for Australia when he did get his chance at that tournament. And then it seemed like he regressed a wee bit, I think, over the second half of last season. But I think
I don't think there was any wee bit about it, James. He definitely regressed. Quite significantly.
So again, I feel a wee bit bad putting him in for most improved because obviously the first half of last season he was excellent. There's obviously a good player in there. But I think compared to the way he finished last season and the way he's playing, or maybe he was playing up until leaving for the Asian Cup, just fantastic. Again, just looks a lot more solid, looks a lot more confident as well. And I think you can see that. I mean, there was that moment in the Edinburgh Derby when he was on a booking already, obviously, for giving away the penalty. And then at one point he was on the ball and Martin Boyle was kind of chasing after him. And he still had the presence of mind and the composure to basically just turn Boyle, skip past him and then like charge up the pitch. And it's like, for a player to do that on a booking in a derby when it's 0-0, that takes guts, you know. And again, I think that's something that we're seeing more of as time goes on. And it's just nice to see him back to something approaching his best.
Yeah, absolutely. He was definitely one I considered. The only reason I didn't choose him was because of something you alluded to when you mentioned about how good he was last season. So my kind of view is that he's just got back to the levels that the Hearts fans expected or what we saw in the first half of the season. But absolutely, there's a couple of it's like Graham makes a point that Kent seems to have helped improve Raoul's, which I'm sure we'll come on to talk about very shortly. But he's looked better as the season's gone on. I don't think it's any surprise that gone to a back three where he's not having to be so. Doesn't have the responsibility, as much responsibility to be in those physical duels and one-on-one with centre backs. It gives them a wee bit of breathing space and it allows them to be on the ball. And I think that's something that has improved within him over certainly the last couple of months, is his ability on the ball to step out. Like you said, you made the point about the Martin Boyle one. So he looks like he's grown in confidence and just ensuring this, and he just seems to be he seems to feel comfortable within the setup at the moment, and you can really see that because I do think he is a player who can make Hearts a lot of money, especially if you look at him potentially going to a European side or even going down south where there is a lot more focus on, like, it's more positioning and it is kind of less physical and more tactical and technical than it has been when you look at the past in the English Premier League. So yeah, I can completely understand that. I went for Alan Forrest. I just think I thought he was a smart pickup at last season, and he was effective enough, he was productive enough with his goals and assists, but last season he never really held down a regular spot in the team, and that's kind of the role I was expecting from him. He'd be that bit part player or squad player who would be useful in domestic games where we had so many more games and there needed to be rotation. So never really, I don't think there's ever that kind of pressure on him to be a key player. This season, I think he's stepped up. He's been relied on a lot more, just a variety of reasons, positionally, injuries, players that's been signed but not settled in. Players have been inconsistent, whereas Forrest has largely been consistent. He's played in 4 or 5 positions. He's come up with some really big moments. You look at the goal against Hibs, you look at his performance against Livingston and his performance against Celtic as well. So I think he's stepped up, and the Hearts fans and generally probably more appreciative of what he brings to the team. He's never going to be a world beater. He's never going to be when you have the mascots or kids on before the game and they're talking about their favourite players. I don't think Alan Forrest is ever going to be in that realm, but I think he's going to be an important first team player, which he has been this season.
So it's a really good shout, and he was the other one I was considering for that one, just because, like you say, he's went from being someone who's a squad player kind of on the fringes. Now, you know, he's played a lot of football this season, and deservedly so. You know, that's him. I think he's got 3 or 4 assists, which makes him one of the top assisters in the team as well. So he's making his presence felt for sure. He sees his opportunity, and like you say, in quite difficult circumstances, and he's had to do a lot of different positions and a lot of different roles, but he's just taking it all in stride. I think that's an excellent shout.
We move on to best signing. I've already said Frankie Kent. What about yourself? Have you gone for Frankie Kent?
Oh, of course, yeah. Who else is it going to be? Michael McGovern? No, come on, it's Frankie Kent.
Yeah.
Has to be. We know like how good he is. We've seen him come in. He's played just about every minute of every game for a reason. He's really settled that defence. He's consistent. That word again, that one I like. You get 7 out of 10 from him most weeks, I think. And there's been one or two little hairy moments, like there was that goal away to St Mirren and Paisley earlier on in the season where Howard and Clark had a bit of a hoo-ha. But aside from that, it's difficult to really think of him putting a foot wrong. And just having something like that in defence is just so steady, so reliable, and who's always available. That's just absolutely massive. And we've even seen in recent weeks, obviously, that with Halkett coming back into the team, he's moved from that central defensive role out to the right centre-back role. And even then, I wasn't sure if he could do that. But again, he's taking it in the stride once again. He's looking like he can play that position, absolutely no bother. Just maybe has to work on his long passing every now and again, because as you know, that's a bugbear of mine.
That is a bugbear. Having sitting next to you for most games this season, I definitely know that's a bugbear of yours. But I think with Kent, you look at two ways. Is that when he says best signing of the season so far, you're comparing him to a lot of guys who have not really had that consistency in their performance, or just done what was expected or hoped of him by now. But at the same time, he's been very, very good. That even if you had two or three of these other signings were playing week in, week out and being consistent, you still have to consider Kent just because of the high levels of his performance. And he's stepped into the Michael Smith role of always kind of give you know what you're going to get with Kent, and it's so important to have those types of individuals within your team. Let's move on to where we're going now. Okay, so there's the next couple of categories should be short and sharp, but the first one is an interesting one. Best goal. There's a few to choose from. I was watching the goals again this afternoon, and there is a fair few to choose from. So I have agreed with Liam here, who says Shankland versus St Mirren. Before I go in to talk about it, which one have you opted for?
Oh, I went for a different one, and amazing, it's not even a Shankland goal either. It's I went for Alan Forrest's in the derby at Tynecastle. Yeah, just long range screamer right into the top bin, kind of out of nothing.
Yep, Graham agrees with it.
Yep, Graham gets it. See, he knows. Just someone scudding it into the top corner from miles away. Great fun, always good.
So yeah, that was obviously a consideration. You've also got Stephen Kingsley's free kick at Celtic Park as well. Yeah. I mean, you could pick out a number of Shankland goals that have been scored. Forrest, it lost a wee bit of luster because it didn't mean as much in the end because of the draw. And it's one. It was like a ferocious strike. It was brilliant, but lost a wee bit of luster. But I still think that Shankland's against St Mirren was better, because watching again today, when the ball comes in from Barry Mackay, Shankland's already setting himself for that pass, and then he has to kind of move his body again because it hits off or kind of flicks off Denham. On his way, like kind of Denham ushers it into his path, and then when he controls it, he doesn't once look at the goal. That's what is, I think, so impressive about it. He never gets his head up and looks at the goal. He touches it and leathers it with his left foot, just because I think he knows where he is. He knows his surroundings, his awareness, and he fires it into the top corner.
No, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Again, it's just like you say, it's the improvisation of it as well. It's an unusual way to hit the ball from that position, and it's just another example of Shankland. He can do it all. He scores all different types of goals, and that's another great one for his collection. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, they're not as spectacular, but his finish against his second goal against he scored so many recently that I'm losing. His second goal against Ross County, where he passes it into the bottom corner, and then the goal at Livingston as well. So just his range of finishing that he could choose. Before I move on to best save, Daniel asks, I missed it. Who was player of the season? Who's not Shanks? We're split. It was between Frankie Kent and Alex Cochrane.
Yep.
So James, best save of the season. Liam has gone for Kai Rolls against Hibs. Wrong one. Kai Rolls against Hibs, which was a fantastic save.
Yeah,
Have you got?
the ball was going in. It would have been 1-0,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, it's hard to argue with that one, to be honest. Yeah. See, I know that you're a member of the Goalkeepers Union, so these things probably stick out in your memory more. But I was struggling a wee bit, to be honest, and I feel like I've kind of copped out a bit. So I went for from the same match, Xander Clark's save against Martin Boyle, just because obviously if that goal goes in, it's a completely different match. You know, keeps Hearts in the derby, shifts the momentum back, and it was also just technically a brilliant save. You know, I had to get down really low, right in the corner. But yes, that was my one. But I don't know. Did you have any more in mind? Just because I know that you know, as a goalie yourself, you probably pay a bit more attention to this stuff than the likes of me.
So he's. I looked back on Wyscout at these saves this season, and the vast majority are ones that you expect when it comes to save of the season. Save of the season so far, you're looking at saves that you don't expect a goalkeeper to make. So you've got, obviously, Gordon was just unreal at pulling off saves that you don't really expect normal goalkeepers to make. Clark is someone who saves shots that very rarely does he get beaten by a shot now that you expect him to save. There was one, he's had a couple of really good close range ones. I think there was a header against Kilmarnock that was close in, and then there was a reflex save against St Johnstone, which I was considering. I think it was 0-0 at the time at Tynecastle. However,
I remember that one, yeah.
Watching it back, it actually came off his face. So that kind of lost a wee bit of points for me. So yeah, I went for the penalty save as well. Like you said, it was such a crucial moment. And also, I think it was a crucial moment for Hearts. It was a crucial moment for Xander Clark as well, because he could easily been dropped after kind of two of the previous games against Rangers and Aberdeen. Against Rangers, it wasn't great goalkeeping for the winning goal for Rangers. He dropped he dropped a cross after, or I think it was afterwards as well, and he just looked unsteady, and then he didn't look clever for the Aberdeen goal. But then, that was just a huge moment in the destiny of the match, but just for him individually.
No, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
And moving on to what we've got next, best moment.
So I've got two here. I think there's one that seems quite obvious, which I assume you've written, so I'll let you do that one. The other one I've got is Lowry's goal against Kilmarnock in the league, away at Rugby Park, the last minute winner in the League Cup.
Okay.
Just because it was a game where I think, you know, Hearts were struggling at the time. They'd started quite well against Kelly, but then Kelly got back into it. It looked as if the momentum was maybe behind them. You know, it was wet, it was windy, it looked like it was going to extra time, and it was just a goal almost out of nothing. You know, it was like from the moment when Hearts win the ball back to the ball ending up in the back of the net, it's about 7 or 8 seconds or something like that, and it just gets launched forward and it ends up in the back of the net. It's not the kind of goal we see Hearts score a lot of. And again, I think it was a really big win at a really important time when things weren't going as well for Naismith. So I'll go for that one, just because I'm sure as the Hearts fan out of the two of us, there's one in particular that you'll be able to speak much better about than I will.
So I didn't consider this. I was a good point because it was like I said, a lot of the noise around it. There was the banner before the game as well in the away end. So I tried to narrow this. So trying to get this from three options to one was very difficult. So I kind of So including this, we've got best moment. The next one's best performance, and then the one after that is kind of the best managerial tactical moment. So I've split my three options across the next three. So for best moment, I have gone for the winning goal against Hibs.
Of course,
Shankland,
yeah, had to be right. Had to be.
Yeah, it was such a dreary game, and you look at the fact that Hearts have won at Celtic for the first time in so long in the league, but then you look at that, I think like that's a brilliant moment. Beating Rosenborg, coming from behind to beat them, was a massive moment, but nothing I don't think ever beats scoring a last-minute goal in a derby, especially if you've not played well. And it was Shankland who had a terrible game up until that point. He missed a penalty, and then he produced that moment of magic. And what made it was just like the celebrations that followed, both Shankland's and the teams, and then the fans in the weigh-in, and also the Hibs fans who just immediately in front of us just got up and left.
Yeah, no, like you say, I had it all. It was brilliant, and I love the finish as well. The fact when you watch the replay of it, and you can see there's one angle you can see where he's like, he looks like he's falling over the whole way. Like he doesn't look in control of. He looks completely off balance. Like, he just kind of lunged into the ball a bit desperately, but still to be in that situation with players all over him, and still to curl it into the top corner of the outside of your boots, just ridiculous. So yeah. I think that one's. I said I had that one jotted down, but. I think it's got to be that one, doesn't it? It's last minute derby winner. What more do you want?
Yeah, exactly. What have you gone for best performance?
So I wasn't sure, was this for the team or for an individual?
You can choose whichever one you've gone for. I've went for team. Okay,
well, it's kind of the same, to be honest, anyway, because I think the best performance, I went for the 2-0 win at Celtic Park. And then as from an individual perspective, I went for Alex Cochrane. Again, I thought that game he was absolutely magnificent. Definitely helped by the fact that Mikey Johnston had a stinker, but he was absolutely immense that day. Didn't put a foot wrong. And obviously in a very difficult game where a lot was asked of him, and he just, he responded absolutely magnificently every single time. So I would go with that. I think I would go for best individual performance would be Cochrane, and then the best team performance, I think it has to be the 2-0 win at Parkhead, doesn't it?
So it does, but I've put that down as my best kind of tactical moment, because I really enjoyed your piece afterwards that looked at how Hearts kind of got in front against Celtic and then just kept them at bay. Because when I was watching Clark's saves today, he had 4 saves in the entire match against Celtic. Every single save was outside the box. So we'll come on, we'll kind of talk about that more in depth later. So, but my best performance, just because it's the one that resonated with me the most in terms of what I want to see from a Hearts team, was the Rosenborg game. Yeah. Just the first leg didn't go to plan, but managed to just get an away goal there, and then Rosenborg scored early at Tynecastle. It's like, well, that's that. But Tynecastle that night was incredible. Proper European night under the lights, and the atmosphere was incredible, and it was just it kind of ignited the team to come back. And I just thought the energy that night was incredible. It's like not the most like refined performance, but there was an element of chaos about it, and I'd like that when I think Hearts always have to play with an element of chaos.
No, that's fair enough. I'll need to take your word from that one, because that's one of the few Hearts games this season I've not been to. I only watched that one on the telly. So
of course, yeah.
I didn't get to experience it, so I'll take your word for it though. It looked like a great laugh. I'll be honest.
Yes, it was, and it was one of those where because I was working that night, and then immediately I was like, right, I'm definitely going as a fan to the Pulp game, which we'll get to later. So yeah,
well, I'm sure we will.
Yes. So that was my best performance. I'm just laughing at Liam's for a moment this season when we decided to play with 9 men because Hoff needed a job at some minute. I should remember that, because we're like, make a change.
Yeah, that was very confusing. It was a good few minutes as well, wasn't it?
Oh, it was ages. It was ages. Yeah. So what have you? So I've said about Celtic away. What was your best kind of managerial tactical moment? So this is where you kind of praise Naismith for a big decision, or you could say the best managerial or the kind of coaching or tactical moment is the improvement in set pieces, which has been led by Frankie Kent. What have you gone for?
Oh,
Frankie McAvoy, not Frankie Kent. But
yeah, that would be impressive. I forgot about the set piece thing, actually. I might go for that, but I was maybe a little bit more specific. I went for like it was the game up in Dingwall. Again, it's not the most brilliant game, wasn't the most important game, wasn't the biggest and sexiest game, but it was like a really clear indication for me of just the Naismith spotting what's going wrong on the pitch, addressing it and getting the reward. So it was when Alex Lowry and Alan Forrest were brought on about the hour mark. It's like the little pockets in the kind of left-hand side of the midfield where Lowry plays, there were loads of space there. Just Hearts weren't taking advantage of it. Naismith noticed that, brought on brought on Lowry, and then he brought on Forrest at wing back. I'm sure it was. Again, it was that thing about Hearts were getting joy out in the right hand side and behind. They were finding time, and then about 5-10 minutes after that, the two of them combine with a Lowry ball in behind the defence that Forrest somehow gets a header on and then scores. So again, it's one of those moments where it's not probably not the biggest. It probably didn't have the biggest impact, but it was one of those moments that really impressed me just because I thought it was just a really bit of insightful bit of management from the sidelines. And again, I thought it was an instance of just the game getting turned to Hearts' favour because of the changes that were made during.
Yeah, that was a big week, that, because we were at Rugby Park that week as well, and the one you talked about with Alex Lowry scoring late on, and Lowry was brought off the bench in that game, so it was two big moments, and it took a while after that game to really kick on, but there was it was positive signs, and again there was chance at the board at the time, so it was a big win, and it was a key turning point. But again, it's found a few times where you're just looking at the starting 11, you're thinking, I'm not sure that's going to work, and that was one case, because you had Denham playing Denham was playing more of a higher role, and then like a Fire, that was just one where he just didn't really look comfortable playing at wing back in the first half. So yeah, that was a big moment. It was an impressive moment from Naismith. I thought, like I said, the Celtic game away, I thought you dissected it really, really well in your piece. Just the way that the midfielders worked in tandem with the wing backs. The wing backs were brilliant. The fact that Mikey Johnson got cheered off said a lot about Cochrane's performance. You had Atkinson up against Lewis Palma as well, put in a brilliant shift, and then the way the two kind of number 8s and George Grant and Aidan Denham worked with it. And going back to what I said, Celtic were reduced to 4 shots on target, all of which were outside the box. It was a brilliant team performance, but I think it was like tactically spot on as well, especially getting that early goal, because when we scored, I was like, it was one of those, probably scored too early here at Celtic Park, and then you get a second one, and you're thinking, oh no, this is even worse, because you're going to lose a 2-goal lead.
But remember, we saw that at Ibrox, didn't we, when Shankland scored again like 5, 6, 7 minutes into the game or something like that, and then obviously there was those 2 late goals, so it's like, you don't want to score it sounds dumb, but you don't want to score too early, because it can sometimes be a bit like, oh god, right, we've got 80 minutes now, what we're going to do. But
it was just because of the nature of the performance. Of course, Celtic contributed to it, but standing the way end, you're thinking, this is actually really comfortable, which is, I think, arguably one of the most impressive aspects of it. Liam, before we move on to the next one, Liam mentions the reaction to the Celtic Park defeat at Tiny, and then how he set up and approached Motherwell away, controlled the game and got 3 points, so we never really looked back. Yeah, I think that was a big turning point tactically, that going from the back 4 to the back 3. Motherwell it's a shame because the game finished 2-1, but it was 2-1 going on 3-4, 5-1 with the way Hearts controlled it. Should have had a couple of penalties, created better chances, never really looked like conceding as well. So, and it came at an important point because it was just before the international break. And at that point, there was, again, the noise and questions around Naismith, and that win allowed a wee bit of positivity going into that international break, when usually it's times where teams look, if they're going to change a manager, it's around that time.
No, absolutely, because I think that, I'm sure, I'm right in saying that the game, I think the first game of the back 3, and it was the 2-1 defeat at Ibrox, which was immediately after the 4-1 defeat to Celtic, right?
Yes, I think so.
If you look that up, I'll continue with my spiel. But so I think you can argue, I think that perhaps even the game at Ibrox, that's the turning point, because that's when the system changes. That's when you see the back 3. That's when you start seeing Biringame played in the number 6 position, and he really comes on to a game. That was a big turning point, and that was a game that ended in defeat, and it was a sore one. But ever since then, like as Liam says, like I think from that point on, it's been pretty much the back 3 in every single game. That's kind of been the template going forward. So that was obviously a disappointing after in the way it ended. But I think tactically, that was a really big game, because it showed that Hearts can compete within that system and make life really difficult for their opponents.
Yeah, so it was just looking at it now, it was that Celtic game and then the Rangers game that followed. I forget all right. Yeah, the Rangers game that followed, Livingston at home, and then the Rangers League Cup game where it didn't really work. And
we'll get to that. Don't worry. I've got that on my list for later on.
Yeah, okay. We'll get to that. I think the final, the penultimate positive award is the biggest surprise of the season. Well, it could be positive, could be negative. Depends how you take it.
Yeah, well, I was positive. And again, but it's a boring one. I'm kind of repeating myself, but I think you have to go for the 2-0 win at Parkhead. I don't think anyone saw that coming. In fact, anyone that says they did, you're lying. No, you didn't. Absolutely everyone thought they were going to go there, and it was going to be a long, long afternoon. And it turned out to one of the most comfortable afternoons Hearts have had all season. So, yeah, I'll go for that one just because it was completely out of the blue, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I remember we did the preview show, and it was just like
we were very doom and gloom.
Yeah, can Hearts win at Celtic Park? And there was so many people just like, no, finished. That's it.
Yep.
no more discussing it. And then they produced that. So yeah, that was. No one saw that coming. Like, not even the most uber positive Hearts fan. We'd be like, can Hearts win? Yeah, will we? No. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest. I think on an individual basis, that is definitely the biggest surprise, or a game by game basis, that was definitely the biggest surprise for me. Relating to that, but kind of more wider point, is the away form. Is just the team. The biggest surprise was the fact that we've started to win games away from home, and I've obviously spoken about it a lot on here. I've written about it on the site, and it's been a big bugbear of Hearts fans for many years, just how poor the team is away from home. So yeah, I think that's been the biggest surprise for me, and just the hope that we can finally win 10 games in the top flight away from home since I was like 2 years old.
That would be nice. It'd be nice if we change of pace for you.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be. Just if the home form could match the away form, that would be class.
Yeah.
Right, we're moving on to the less positive awards. We'll rattle through these just because I'm wary of time. But worst moment, what have you gone for?
So I thought there were 3. To be honest, two from a professional perspective and one from a Hearts perspective. The professional perspective one's been the last minute goals at Ibrox and the last minute goals at Pittodrie, because as subscribers will know, we do instant analysis, and last minute goals tend to change the outcome of that.
Yep,
so I didn't like that, because that like to be hastily deleting everything and starting again. So those ones aren't very fun. But I think in terms of on the pitch, I think if it's one moment, it's probably going to be Toby Civic passing the ball to Ellie Ewan for 2-2 in the derby. Or those 83 seconds. Is 83 seconds a moment? Does that qualify?
I've chosen that.
Right, okay, good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's no need to go over old wounds, because that was an incredibly frustrating day. So Hibs draw, worst moment, definitely.
Yeah.
Worst performance.
I had the 4-1 defeat at home to Celtic. I thought that Hearts were rubbish that day. I thought they were miles off it. They improved a bit in the second half, I suppose, but at that point the game's already done. It's just one of those games. I mean, that was the game that effectively done, and that was the end of the back four. Or certainly, I think you're going to see a back four against Celtic or Rangers again anytime soon. Yeah. So I think that, I mean, it was a bad day, bad day. I mean, it's an unfortunate time to catch them, in that Celtic were on having they were having one of their days where they're on it, and when Celtic are on it, it's really difficult. But it's just one of those games where from start to finish, Hearts were just not even in the game. Yeah,
I certainly consider that. I've gone for just because it's Celtic, and also because of the game I've chosen, and kind of what it meant. Thankfully, it's not meant much so far, but what it could mean, but what it meant at the time was the second half performance at Aberdeen, being in control, and then just kind of capitulating. But Naismith talked about being bullied off the pitch in the second half, and it was just, with the frustrating aspect was that Hearts never looked like adding to the lead, and it was just all very safe and really disappointing, and it was just an inept second half performance, I think, just collectively, individually. And if you looked for a positive out of it, I think there was the reaction that came from it, that they went and beat Celtic, beat St Mirren, beat Hibs, and just the the discussion around it amongst the squad and the management, and I think that was a big kick up the arse, essentially, about just the nature of the loss. So yeah, that one still stings.
Yeah,
Not as much as the Hibs draw.
Not quite as much as that, I wouldn't have thought, but that was definitely, again, it was one that's like, yeah, first half great, second half rubbish. It's just, yeah, never nice to see that drop off.
What is the managerial or tactical decision that still has you scratching your head?
I've got two again.
Yeah, I've got two.
And they both feature a player that I admire a lot as well, actually. First one is Benny Beningame getting chucked in at Rosenborg away. I know you brought this up with Stephen Naismith. I know he's defended it.
Yep.
I don't know. He looked very much like a man who hadn't kicked a ball in 17 months. That's exactly what he looked like. He looked like a guy who hadn't played a game in a very long time. So I'll go for that. And then the other one I've got is from the 2-each derby when Lowry was brought off and Beningame was brought on. Just lost control of the game at that point. Lost the momentum. And then obviously a few minutes later we all know what happens. So I think those are both ones you go like, oh yeah, we don't know what was going on there.
So with the Benny one, and yeah, obviously it's still going to rankle with people, but both Naismith spoke to us about it, but Benny's also spoke, I think, when he spoke to Barry, where Anderson spoke to him earlier in the season. He kind of talked around that Rosenborg game, and he just said he felt he was ready. There was no issue on his side. I remember going to the Dunfermline. I know it's a pre-season game and against Dunfermline, but I remember going to the pre-season game against Dunfermline at the start of the season. At the start of pre-season, Benny played in the second half of that game, and he looked like he had never been away. Again, it's slow. It's a pre-season game. It's not anything like Rosenborg, but he looked on it, and that's why I wasn't surprised to see him against Rosenborg. Obviously, it didn't work out all that well, but the feeling is that he was more than ready to start, having gone through pre-season. My one from the Hibs game was more when Kingsley got injured and
I remember
moving the whole defence rather than just making a straight swap with Halliday. That's one where I look back on and think, could things have been done differently, or could they have gone differently if Halliday was brought on rather than bringing on a fire and then bumping everyone across one. Obviously, you look at Rowles and his pace to go up against Hibs speedsters on wide position, but then you look, it's quite a narrow pitch at Tynecastle. If there's a game, if there's a location you want, you're kind of happy to have someone like Halliday up against Boyle or Johan. It's probably Tynecastle, and there's not that much space. The other one was that still has scratched my head was the Devlin at St Mirren.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah,
played very. He was played from the right, but yeah, it was a lopsided formation, and it just clearly just didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, that was one. I mean, I remember we were sitting in the stand, and obviously it's St Mirren, so you're not exactly high up. You're quite low down. You're quite near the pitch level, and you're just going like, what on earth is this formation? It's like, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. It took us a wee while to figure it out. That was certainly a strange one, and thankfully it doesn't. Naismith seems to have learned his lesson.
Yeah, so I think that's the big thing is the learning from it, and you look at the decisions that have been made now, like kind of tactically, personnel wise. You've more often than not, you've got guys playing in their strongest positions. There's a balance and maybe more pragmatism about it. And it just everything just makes kind of more sense, and like that's fine. Trying new things out and trying to try to be creative or seeing a weakness and trying to exploit it by doing something different. But sometimes you just best just go normal and just plain
conventional wisdom is convention for a reason.
Yeah. So we've just had the tactical, the managerial decision that's left you scratching your head. 3 more to go. Biggest disappointment. So this is in general. I've looked at in general, but what's your biggest disappointment?
I went for the League Cup semi for this one. Again, I just saw it as a game where...
Yeah, I consider that.
Yeah, Hearts were quite defensive, but it just looks like they were set up in a way where they had absolutely no plan for responding if they fell a goal behind. And it didn't look, there wasn't much attacking intent on show, not until maybe the last 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and the game's already dead and buried. So I think that was a disappointment one, particularly because they got it was 0-0 at half time, wasn't it? So it's you're kind of going, all right, it's not been great, but they're still in the game. Who knows? Nick a goal. And then the second half, it was just Rangers scored twice quite early on, and then you go, well, that's that. And again, it was more the nature of the display. It's more the fact that Hearts didn't really lay a glove on Rangers by the time it was all said and done. And I think that's got to be a disappointment,
I think that there was just the general feeling amongst the Hearts fans, just that, like, almost waiting for Rangers to score to give them an excuse to leave. I just thought there was a lot of belief, and there was nowhere near the same belief in the team back then as there is now. Which the way things have progressed. I have gone for biggest disappointment in general, kind of the start to the season, just because I think there was a real missed opportunity to have kind of wrapped up third almost, or even just been closer to the Old Firm than maybe than we are to Kilmarnock. But like a specific moment, Kai Rolls conceding the penalty against Palk because Shankland had scored, and you're thinking got ahead, and you're just thinking this, you could go get a good result and take something to hold on to or defend in Greece, but then to concede apparently something that it was like so unlike him in terms of how the position he was in. Yeah, that kind of just knocked the stuffing out that kind of that period of the tie.
So again, similar to the Hibs game, it must be one of those ones where there must be 90 seconds between Shankland scoring and then Rosenborg getting defended. It can't be long because it's straight from kickoff, isn't it? They just get from kickoff and just charge down the wing. And then
so Shankland scored in the 9th, and then it came in so the goal was in the 12th. So when you consider it was a penalty and then
the kickoff,
so there would have been very, very little time between it. What could have been? And penultimate one, player you want to see more from in the second half of the season, whether this is more minutes on the pitch or just more consistency, more quality, etc., etc.
So I've got one. I think my main one's probably Cammy Devlin, who obviously has been out injured recently, but even before that seems to have fallen out of favour a wee bit under Naismith. Certainly, I think Neuenhoff certainly seems to be the Naismith's man ahead of him. And I really like Cammy Devlin. I think he brings a lot to the team. I think he's really effective. I'd like to see more of him. And the other one, in terms of like a player who, that's something I just think, I would like to see play more minutes because I enjoy watching him. The other one who I'm like, he needs to show a little bit more over the second half of the season, probably Yutaro Oda, just because we know there's talent. We saw towards the end of last season that Naismith knows how to nurture that talent. But again, like we've touched on it before, sometimes he's not maybe a bit reluctant to get forward. Maybe he's he's not always making the right decisions. And to be fair as well, part of it as well, he's a casualty of the system, and that in the 3-5-2, there's not really a home for him there. But certainly when the Hearts are playing with wingers, when he has had that opportunity, I don't think he's grasped it, and I think that he's one who could be doing a bit more because again, we know the talent's there with him. That's the frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Although not chosen him, he was one I considered just because of a frustration I have with Yutaro Oda and how much he could take, how much he could learn from Alan Forrest, and especially the way he approaches games, and when his ball at his feet, he's direct and he's positive, and you want Yutaro Oda to have maybe a bit more confidence in himself and not play as safe. So yeah, I completely agree with that one. I went for Callum Neuenhoff just because I expected a lot more from him. I watched a fair bit of him playing alongside Morgan Schneiderlin in the A-League, and the hope was that he would just be really direct and really positive with the ball, carrying it. He can do it, but there's times where you just want to get onto the pitch and just shake him and just go, "You can do this. Just do it." Rather than there's the one against Ross County, where he gets the ball and passes it to Halkett, where he's got so much space.
That's
just frustration. Yeah. I know Naismith really likes him, and Naismith has talked really positively about him, and he thinks he's got a lot of potential, a lot of talent, and I just think I would like to see more of it if he wants to hold on to a spot in that midfield, because you look at Benny, kind of shooing, and then you've got Denham has really come on to game, and Cammy Devlin coming back, George Grant coming back. So I don't think he has shown enough to keep those players out the team.
Yeah, exactly. I'd agree with that. I think that I think he's been decent at times, but yeah, I think there's definitely more to come from him. And like you say, when you list off those players that are vying for that position, you need to be playing pretty well these days to get hold on to that spot at Hearts. So you should have to, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, we've got to the end, and we've left. We don't want to finish on a negative, so we've left one award to the end, and this is going to be a very, very quick one. Most valuable person.
So I went for Liam Boyce. No, it's Shankland. Of course it is. It's always good. Yeah, of course it is. What more can you say about the guy? I mean, I wrote a piece earlier in the week basically saying that it's getting to the point now where Hearts can't afford to sell him. Never mind, can't afford to turn bids down. He's worth so much to the team. Everything goes through him from a tactical perspective. Obviously, there's the goals. He's scoring against everyone. He's scoring all different types of goals. He's dragging Hearts through games single-handedly at times. If he doesn't play well, the team doesn't play well. That kind of says it all, I think. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, what can you say? What can you
that's
say?
I've literally got nothing to add other than he's not only the most valuable person to Hearts. I think he's in terms of the league wide, he is the player who's most valuable to their team of the 12 teams.
Unquestionably. Again, he scored more goals than the rest of the team combined.
Yeah. So because we've I think I gave him best goal, but other than that, I've not got really an award for Shankland, so I had to finish with MVP. So there we have it. 10-15 minutes more than I expected, but no, that was enjoyable. A very swift look at this past season with some awards. Had a wee bit of fun talking about Hearts. So there we go. I need to shoot off to the vets now. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Continue to subscribe and support. Be sure to check out everything on heartstandard.co.uk. Got an in-depth interview with Stephen Naismith on the site today, looking at the academy and how he wants to promote and integrate players from the academy into the Hearts first team better. And then tomorrow we'll have a piece looking at Benny Beningame and his role within the team, his function, how important it is, which James is writing up. But until Friday, when I'll be back with Scott McIntosh to answer some questions, thank you very much and goodbye.